Hello everyone and welcome back to Two Bros Game Night. I'm your host, Older Bro.
I'm your other host, Younger Bro.
And today we continue in PokéPark Wii,
where we're fighting Darkrai and then doing the Rotom attraction. This haunted house is so comfortable. Thank you for saving the PokéPark. I'm your friend now. Shall we play a skill game? Let's have a battle. Fight me!
Fight me!
I know how strong you are, now let me show you what I'm made of. Darkness. Not that darkness.
Let's be honest, no one is made of darkness in the same way. Except apparently, there is one show.
I remember this fight being difficult.
I can't imagine why. I can't remember what show it is, but I do remember one show where it was described to me as, what if Konosuba, but all the characters are darkness? So, it has been done. Yeah, this is a real...
Yeah, the fucking ball's magnet to you!
Yes, they do. Yeah, this is a difficult fight because of that. It was a good fight. Like, honestly, it was a good fight. That's the thing. It's like
I do not like his shitty freaking magnet move. Yeah. I wish Pokemon used a little bit more variety of moves instead of the same one over and over.
That's true. I do wish as well. I will say, though, as crappy as it probably feels to fight this guy because of the fact they magnet to you, I actually do appreciate that this fight is an actual threat. That, like, unlike most of the other fights, like, he actually has about as much of a chance to win as you do.
But the problem I'm having with this fight is it's too fucking fast.
Yeah.
Like, it...
I was gonna say, I'd say
like
it is literally the exact speed where it's
the regen
up
time.
Even a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the way he so quickly uses that move again, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not, if it went any faster, it would actually just be too fast. But he's doing it just at the speed where it's not so fast that you can't bypass it, but it's fast enough that it's near impossible to bypass.
I wish it would deload every other Pokemon in the game. That way I can focus on the fight and not hit anything
that would also
while
be
I'm
good.
dashing away.
That'd be good.
It was a good battle. I'll see you again, mark my words. Don't at me for the sequel.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty good.
I'm still waiting on PokéPark 3.
You're gonna be waiting a long time. Probably your entire life.
I think Snap 3 is more likely than PokéPark 3.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the other thing is that Snap 3... Here's the fundamental problem with PokéPark. I feel like PokéPark and Mystery Dungeon have much more of an overlap. Like, they're not the same games, obviously. Because PokéPark is much more just, like, mini-game friendly and just, like, encounter every Pokemon. So, it's not exactly the same as something like Mystery Dungeon, which is much more, like, dungeon-oriented and stuff like that, but...
By the way, guys, I have not got max with every Pokemon, and I'm not going to try to.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get the bonus and move on.
Anyways, what was I talking about?
We were talking about PokéPark and Mystery.
Oh yeah, there isn't, like, it isn't a huge overlap, but I feel like these games have more of an overlap than other side games do. Actually, maybe that's not true. Like, I would say that there's something like Pokemon Snap is very much its own game. There's no other Pokemon side game is like it. Then you get Pokemon Ranger, which is relatively unique. That's a lot of puzzle solving, based on having the right Pokemon and, you know, you capture Pokemon in a very unique way. So, like, that's the puzzle.
That's still technically befriending Pokemon.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's befriending Pokemon, but it's all about puzzles. And Pokemon Snap is just taking photos of every Pokemon. Then you get stuff like, what's the one Pokemon side game that's, the block puzzle game?
Troze?
Yeah, Troze. Troze is just, is puzzles, but it's, like, those kind of puzzles. So that one's completely different than others.
Yeah, Troze kind of evolved into Pokemon Shuffle.
Yeah, Pokemon Shuffle. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, I think that is the same thing. Like, are they the same gameplay? Relatively.
Close.
Yeah, yeah. So Shuffle and Troze are the same thing.
I don't remember if you could catch Pokemon in Troze. I think it was just all random.
I think it was all just the puzzles. I don't think there was any.
Like, you didn't collect the Pokemon in Shuffle, you do.
Interesting. But anyways, so yeah, so you got something like Shuffle, which is a puzzle game. Then you get something like Mystery Dungeon, where it's all about... It's actually a linear story game. Like, you recruit Pokemon, but that's mostly to help you get through the game. Like, it's... The collecting mechanic is entirely, like, side content. And then you have something like this, where it's like... There's these mini-games... Yeah, it's mini games mixed with playing. Yeah, so you play as the Pokemon, and you have mini games where you do like it's just like you basically play other Pokemon side games in this game, and then the main plot of this game is just save the PokéPark. So it's like this kind of feels like a mixture of like other side games and like a Mystery Dungeon style game. It's kind of in a weird state. And then I think the only side games I've missed is Unite, which is just a MOBA. And
Pokemon Unite is Battle Royale.
Yeah. And
you forgot Pokemon Conquest.
Oh yeah, Conquest is a very interesting game. That was very much that was a very unique game.
Yeah, where it was basically Fire Emblem Pokemon.
Sort of. It's very strange. I guess there's a lot of side games I forgot, because I didn't say Detective Pikachu, I didn't talk about the stadium-style games, which are just competitive battling.
Yeah, why do you think we separated side games from main games?
Yeah. And then Pokemon Colosseum and XD, which is... Honestly, those are the least different from the main games. Colosseum and XD are just... What if
You played the villains?
Yeah, what if you basically played as the villains, where you stole Pokemon from other people? And otherwise, it's just a normal Pokemon game. But there's no normal catching. There's only side stuff. There's only like this deal.
There is normal catching, but that's only in XD.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, I keep forgetting the score bonus.
Speaking of which, I think I'm gonna write down. I'm gonna put Colosseum on something for Colosseum on the suggested games, because there is a mod for Colosseum.
Is it the all shiny mod?
No, it's like an actual full game mod.
Oh.
Like, it redoes stuff.
I'll have to check that out.
I was watching a speedrun of Colosseum, and the speedrunners were talking about one of the shinies. You remember at one point in the game where you're playing through, I think it's right before, I think it's during the Myra B section, but I can't remember exactly. But there's one section where they have a shiny, or a shadow Pokemon. And the shadow Pokemon is like level 20. And this is when you're fighting like level 30s. And it just feels completely out of place because it's so under-leveled compared to everything else. Yeah, there was one section in the game where they had that, and the speedrunners are just like, there are a lot of decisions in this game where we actually just think that the game devs did a typo. This is one of them, where they're like, we're pretty sure this is supposed to be 30, and they just put 20 instead accidentally, and it would make a lot more sense if it was 30. But for some reason, they just made it 20.
Okay. Oh yeah, the Pokemon you friended in this game is Rotom.
Yeah.
Not legendary again.
Yeah. Well, Rotom's a weird Pokemon where it's not legendary, but it has
you
like
friend it after you play it, all of its
well, what I was gonna say was,
attraction.
so in this game, they do a lot of the Pokemon you friend, or that you friend via these attractions, are either legendaries, pseudo-legendaries, or legendary-like Pokemon. I have to think of some of the other ones, because there's Metagross, and he's I think he's a pseudo-legendary.
He's pseudo. They have multiple pseudo-legendaries and
that was Gen 3, wasn't it?
Third gen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're all pseudo-legendaries, but they have several Pokemon that are nearly pseudo-legendary. Flygon wasn't quite big enough to be pseudo-legendary, but it's like, because in order to be a pseudo-legendary, your stats actually have to fit into a certain range. I can't remember what it is, but Flygon misses it. I think Metagross might miss it, but I'm not sure. If not, then yeah. There's Pokemon that are like pseudo-legendaries. And then Rotom's weird, because it's kind of a Pokemon that feels like a mythical, but is common. Like, it's just weird. It's a weird Pokemon. It's basically the Gen 4 equivalent of Porygon.
I think Rotom is only like sort of pseudo-legendary because it can be in any electronic. That's why we have the Rotom phone today.
Well, I was gonna say again, technically it's not pseudo-legendary, but again, because only to be a pseudo-legendary you have to be certain Pokemon with certain ranges. It's like, so like all. Like,
I got the score.
Dragonite is pseudo-legendary.
I got the score exactly.
Yeah. Basically, any of the Dragonite equivalents in any game are the pseudo-legendaries. And nothing else, with some exceptions. But yeah, Rotom feels like a strange Pokemon, because he's weird. I don't know how to describe it better.
I think one of the main reasons I love PokéPark so much is the Pokemon say their names.
That is true.
What other games do that besides Pikachu for a short period of time because they stopped using it?
Yeah.
Well, I know they started using it for Eevee, but I think they may have also stopped using it for Pikachu.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely... Yeah. This is one of those games where it's not like it's actually non-unique. I don't think this game... Why is he so tiny?
I don't know.
What the fuck? Yeah, I feel like... Yeah, like, Electabuzz should be like twice as tall as this. Like, what the fuck?
It's tiny. It makes a Pokemon Go reference, even though Pokemon Go just started doing that.
Yeah, but... Yeah, it's definitely a situation where... I don't think that this game got enough, like, carved out enough of an identity for itself. It's like, it's not that...
I have no idea why, like... I don't... Like, aside from, like, a few fights, I don't think there's really anything in this game I hate.
I think that's the thing. I don't think anyone hates this game. I think people just don't care about this game. It's kind of the opposite problem. It's not that people hate it, it's that they're apathetic towards it. Because it's like, this game is mostly mini-games, and it has a very, very loose plot. I think people would have liked it more if it had more of a plot.
I mean, that's what 2 did. It had more of a plot.
Yeah. But even still, like, I don't know. Like, I remember liking 2, but... yeah, I really... yeah, I can look and see what people's complaints are.
Yeah, I think this game series deserves more love.
Yeah. Because, again, I don't hate it. Let's see. PokéPark Wii. Yeah, well, yeah, here's the problem. I think part of it's going to be the fact that again, Abra's too tiny.
I'd say Abra is about the right size.
No, Abra should be bigger than that. Like, that's real tiny.
Abra is about the size of your torso.
Yeah. Like, but so, okay, so, we'll put this in my height, just for context. So what you're saying is that if Abra was floating, let's say just slightly above the ground, you're saying its head should be up, like, right here.
Its head would be under your chin, and its feet would be probably in your stomach region.
I think that's a little bit shorter or taller than you think it is. Like, you're saying he'd be this tall. It's like he's like down here. Like his height would be like at
okay, then to your
from like
abdomen. He's the size of a grade schooler.
Yeah, like because that's at that height he would be if he was standing on the ground he'd be like up to my crotch basically, a little bit higher.
Anyway, what? Back to PokéPark.
But like that height, the height they were showing on camera, this height, if you look at that couch over there, that's this tall. Like that's too tiny.
Pokemon come in various different sizes. Like
they really do.
All Pokemon are the same height.
Well, that's sort of not true anymore. It's still sort of true, but Pokemon Company has done a lot to standardize heights.
Anyway.
So, but anyways, so part of the problem is that how's the best way to describe this? So, part of the problem with this game is it's gonna be dependent on what you consider the point of these games. Critics are really bad in general at rating things that are for kids, and not even just specifically for kids, but that are like for critics. And to some extent, I agree with this. Like, yeah, okay, this is way too tiny. His head should be way
okay,
higher.
I'll give you this one.
But anyways, the thing with games for kids, I tend to fall into the same agreement as like some critics would give. Kids stuff shouldn't be mindless. It should still be very interesting. And part of the thing that people complain about with this game is that it's just a lot of mini-games. Now, there are some complaints that people give that I don't think are necessarily justified. For example, one of the complaints that somebody gave about this game was it doesn't have multiplayer. And it's like, but why would it have multiplayer? Like, it's a story about
it's a
going through the game and befriending all these
story.
Pokemon. Why would you have multiplayer in it? So like
I could maybe see it for PokéPark 2. Why?
yeah,
wouldn't
but
you
this
have
was criticism
multiplayer?
for Wii, the original. Some people are saying that it has a very childish story, which again I don't see as necessarily a problem. But again, I could see people saying the mini games are quite dull. There isn't a lot of challenge to them. But again, that's the problem here, is that they're... And again, for most of these minigames, I would agree. They have almost no challenge.
I'd say when you start using Pokemon that are weaker, that's when it starts hitting.
Yeah, but it's definitely a situation where it's like... If I actually wanted to give a rating to this game, I would rate it higher than, like, most critics probably would, but I think that it's still, like, a very average game, in the sense that it's, like, the plot of this game is just go around and play mini games with the character. Well, it's two-part. So there's the story of go through and save the PokéPark, and the way you save the PokéPark is by... God, that's tiny. By befriending all these Pokemon. That part's fine. Like, it's a very simple plot. The sequel game had a better version of this plot, which it should. It's trying to improve the games. The franchise. It should. But at the core of the franchise, it's the same. Plot is go around, befriend everyone, save the world. The thing is, the way that you befriend them is kind of boring in most situations, in that it's just do this short skill game, which is either chase them, battle them, or quiz.
Yeah, they made it more interesting in this sequel.
Yeah, so I think that aspect of this is very dull. The way you befriend doesn't have a lot of depth to it and could be improved. The other thing is that the mini games are they kind of feel tacked on. Of like, they're here because you befriended all the Pokemon and you want to do something with all the Pokemon. So we'll just do all these mini games and let you play these mini games. But it's like, it doesn't feel very... It feels like they're here to have mini games and not for really any other reason. So it's like, I feel like the mini games could be better integrated into the game some way. And I feel like the story overall just needs more substance, which again, they do in the sequel. So, in general, I think the thing I'm saying is just, it's not that it's a bad game, but it's that it's a good first draft for a franchise, and that they need to step it up in the sequel. So, 6, 7 out of 10 ranged game. It's fine. Whatever. Not my favorite game. But, need something to do one day? Sure.
Yeah, the other game that's really unique is also the Rumble series.
Yes. Yeah, those are... And I think that's the thing. Those games were much more fun than these games. Because those games are sort of the same thing. They're not exactly befriend everyone and save the world, but it's not far off from that.
Like, this is one of the first Pokemon games where you explore a Pokemon inhabited world.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. At its core, Mystery Dungeon does a lot more with the exploring a Pokemon world and having a deep plot. And I think that's what people expected this kind of game to be because of Mystery Dungeon. So it's like, and then something like, yeah, and even Pokemon Rumble had like an actual, like, pretty serious story. It was like, it was a good, at least blast.
But yeah, guys, we don't know a lot about the games before it because I started
Rumble was the first one.
Blast.
Yeah, there was only one before it.
Oh, there was? Rumble Blast's sequel.
Is the sequel.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, so, like, that one I actually greatly enjoyed that plot, but, like... So, it's definitely a situation where I think the plot in this game was a bit lacking. It's kind of simplistic. I feel like they could do more.
Yeah, by the way, guys, the attraction we forgot was Absol's attraction. We forgot to mention Absol.
Yeah, not that we forgot to do it, but it was... Younger Bro was saying last time he couldn't remember the last attraction. It was this one.
And unfortunately, we're saving right in front of it.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna talk a little bit more because I want to check the plot of the sequel. Or, like, not the plot, but, like, to see how that was reviewed.
Okay.
But, like... That one also had... Yeah, that one also had a mixed reception, but it seems like its mixed reception was a little bit higher than the other one. Let me see. Let me check that average. Average 64, 62. Average for the sequel was 64 or 65, 60. So, yeah, about the same. So, yeah, that's... The thing I want to say is this. I do not agree... I think I agree with about, like... I think I'd put it closer to, like, the 70 range in terms of... in terms of my rating. But, to be clear... I don't agree with why they're rating it as such. Because the reason people are rating these games as, like... as, like, a 70. Or, like, under a 70. Or, like, around 60s. Is because a lot of their arguments are... The game isn't very deep. But not all games need to be deep. Like, who's gonna sit around and say Animal Crossing is a bad game because it doesn't have a deep plot?
Yeah, you make the plot.
Yeah, it's just about going around and collecting things and, like, building a house and meeting these colorful characters and stuff like that. It's like, there's not anything more to it, and there doesn't need to be anything more to it. And I think the same thing applies here. This game isn't, like, an average game because, well, I guess I'm saying it's slightly above average. This game isn't a slightly above average game because it's got no substance. It's a slightly above average game because it's not deep, I guess I should say. Because it's not a deep, plot-heavy game. It's that it's a simple game about just going around and befriending Pokemon and, like, playing mini-games. But there isn't a lot to that. It's not that the plot is boring or non-existent.
I like how Lucario Sonic jumps.
It's that the game doesn't really have a good... There isn't a really good feel about why we're doing the things we're doing. We just need to befriend Pokemon to save the world. And that's it. And we play these mini-games because that helps befriend people. And we do the other, like, skill games because it helps befriend people. It's just like, there isn't really a reason or rhyme of why we're doing things. It's just because it's stuff that's in the game. So it's like, I feel like that's more of the problem this game has. It's like, it doesn't have a really good identity. It doesn't really have a lot of, like... It doesn't really have a lot of good reasons why you're doing the things you're doing. So it's like, I feel like they could have expanded there.
Yeah.
Because again, like, I'm not one to say that a boring game is... Or not a boring game, but like, a game is boring because it has no substance. It's like, I love the Hamtaro games. The Hamtaro games are literally just... I mean, I guess they do actually have a plot. The plot of those games is literally just...
Yeah, but in those games, you're finding words and trying to complete a book.
I was gonna say,
that's similar to PokéPark.
Well, yes and no. I would say PokéPark is similar to the first game without the words. It's about go around and befriend everybody. You go around and you just find everybody and you collect stuff along the way to slightly help you find people, but that's it. But it's like, yeah, like, I love those games. So I'm not going to sit back and say that, like, this game is bad because it's, like, got little to it, and it's just...
Like, it's, how I could describe this is a linear puzzle game.
See, I wouldn't say that. I feel like there aren't...
The button didn't work.
Yeah. I don't think that there's enough in this that I would classify as puzzles. Like, these are mini games, but I wouldn't call them puzzles specifically. They're just...
But throughout the story, you're solving problems and helping Pokemon and...
See, I wouldn't agree to that either. That's the thing, is that you're not doing it in a puzzle manner. You're not going around and saying, like, oh, I lost my jewelry. Can you go help me? And you go track down a shady Pokemon
you do in
that...
2.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, in this game specifically, I don't think that we've gotten to that point where I call it a puzzler. I wouldn't quite call it it's an adventure game, but it's a very light adventure game. There isn't a lot to it. So it's like, I feel like they just need to add more to this game to, like, add more mechanics and functions that fit with the overall theme. Mini games or whatever. So, but I don't think that I don't think that I'd agree with other people that it's like, it's completely mindless. It's just that there isn't a lot to it. They could add more and make it more fun and enjoyable, but it's like, we're not there yet. Second game will be closer. Anyways, guys, that's a little bit of a longer episode, but that's fine. Anyways, that's going to be it for this episode. We will come back next time and continue on in PokéPark Wii. Until then, the future is very uncertain. What is certain is you guys are awesome, and there'll be more Two Bros Game Night tomorrow. See you then.
Goodbye.